This lesson will be about melodies. Now, just as it says in your book, there's no one way to write a good melody. However, there are some good ideas to keep in mind, and some things that really are more or less a rule if you want a melody that people can follow. The most obvious and basic rule is that your melody should be in a key. And the easiest way to make sure your melody is in a key is to pick a key before you write your melody, start on the tonic and end on the tonic, especially ending on the tonic. That will really give your melody a sense of key. However, there are a lot of other tricks to really improve your melody, and we're going to talk about some of those right now. I will be teaching you a few terms that you can also use both when talking about melodies and also to help you think about writing your own melodies. Remember, when you get to the end of this chapter, your goal is to write a melody for a creative project, and hopefully it'll be a melody that you'll be really proud of. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about with melodies is a word that you may have heard of, this word called a motive, or motivic development. Now, normally when we think of the word motive, we think of maybe a murder mystery, the thing that caused the killer to do it. But when we're talking about motives in music, it's more like what you might call a motif. You know, like I can say my grandmother has country decor in her kitchen and she has a duck motif. Her wallpaper has little ducks, her towels have big ducks, she has even bigger ducks hanging on the wall. She has a duck motif. Well, music actually employs motives, which are kind of like a motif maybe in your home decor. That is to say, a motive is really a tiny, tiny little idea in music that then repeats and is altered and expanded throughout the music. Now, lots of great music is really just based on one little idea. For example, Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, it uses this motive. And if you think about the beginning of that, which is considered great music and is recognized by a lot of people, then he just repeats it, then he repeats it again, then he kind of changes it, then he repeats it the same but starting on a different pitch. Here it is, slightly altered. It just continues with the same motive. I mean, it's really like a four-note idea that expands out to this whole piece of music. Another example would be Silent Night. This is almost the same. Right? The only difference is it doesn't go. It's just missing one note. Also the same. So a lot of really catchy melodies, and not just in classical music or folk songs, but even if you turn on the radio today, if you really start to take the music apart, a lot of it just takes a motive and develops it. So we're going to try that just for fun. And I'm literally just going to make up a motive right now. If we were in class, I would have asked a class member to make up a motive, but I'll do it since I'm here by myself. Okay, there's my motive. Now, since I'm in the key of C, I started my motive on C. One thing that makes my motive memorable is that it does have a rhythm, right? Just like all those other examples I played, it does have a rhythm, and that's part of what makes it sort of memorable. Now, there are some different methods I can use on my motive to make it interesting while I repeat it. One, of course, is just to go up to a different pitch. And I can keep doing that. Okay, so far I've just taken my motive and directly repeated it without even changing anything. Now sometimes we like to take the inversion of our motive. So where my motive went up before, I'm going to go down now. So I'm going to start here, and my motive originally went up. So I'll do that, and then here it went down, so I'll go up. Another trick that I can use is maybe turning it backwards. So maybe I'll do that with the rhythm and the direction. So here I went, let's see, down. And then another thing would be to make all the rhythms half as long or twice as long. So I think I'll do a couple like that. I'm going to make everything half as long. So my quarter note will become an eighth note. My eighth notes will become 16th notes. My half note will become quarter note. One thing I might want to change about my melody is that right now it's ending on a weak beat, and it's good to end your melody on a strong beat, so maybe I'll just repeat my last note here. Okay, let's hear how it sounds. So remember, we just repeated our motive moving up, and then we repeated it going down, so we just had the inversion of the direction, and then we went backward, and then we sped it up. Let's hear what it sounds like. Wasn't the most interesting melody ever, but it was okay. Now let's talk about how to do some things that are a little more exciting. Well, that melody that we just wrote had one really nice advantage, and it's something you should keep in mind with your melodies, which is that it's nice to keep your melody within the range of an octave, or at least no more than an octave plus maybe a fourth. If you think of the Star-Spangled Banner, it's one of the most difficult things that anyone would ever have to sing. And one of the reasons is that the range of the Star-Spangled Banner is about 2 octaves, and very few people's voices even have a 2-octave singing range. So even though not everything you write is going to be sung to, a really memorable melody will often fit within the range of an octave plus a third or a fourth, because a lot of the time people do hum along with melodies, and that's what helps them remember them. So my melody did have that going for it.